Hey, welcome to virsivlog, where today we're talking about mental illness and entrepreneurship. Hey everyone, I'm Debbie Garcia, founder and CEO of Versatour, and today on our virsivlog, we're talking to JM with Stroll about mental illness and entrepreneurs. Welcome, JM. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Well, I really just want to get started. We kind of met through the Entrepreneurial Center here in Nashville. Someone was like, "You two need to talk to each other."
Right,
It and it's actually been kismet since the time we've virtually met. We've actually never met in person.
right.
Um, but James actually helped me through a lot of stuff, and we got talking about some really deep topics. And one thing he's really passionate about
Mhm.
is really helping people in this role as an entrepreneur really get through some mental illnesses or struggles. And I'm just going to read a quote here. Um, the researchers found that 49% of entrepreneurs surveyed were dealing with at least one mental illness, such as ADD, ADHD, bipolar disorder, addiction, depression, or anxiety. And about one third of entrepreneurs struggle with two or more mental illnesses. Do you
Mhm.
have any insight on that, on how that has personally affected you, or what you've seen in this entrepreneurial role?
Yes, I guess we are jumping straight in. Um, so I've been an entrepreneur now. My first entrepreneur venture that I exited from was actually during college, undergrad. And, sort of like when you're on the golf course and you hit your first ball straight and long, it's like, I can be Tiger Woods. So you think that you can, do it. But consistently, it's going on, I think, approximately 20 years or something like that. Um, my first independent venture, I remember I was just working. I'd opened up an insurance agency ahead of the Great Recession, and it was just stressful. Um, and one day I got up for a networking event at like 6. I don't know if I had to be there at 7. I think I had to be there at like 7 or something like that. So I probably woke up earlier. I pull into my office around 8:30, I guess, and I just pull in, turn the car off, and take a breath. And out of nowhere, tears just start falling out of my face, but I'm not crying, so it's weird. And this is going on. This is about 15 years ago. So I'm like, what the? I got a potty mouth, so if I excuse me, I'm like, what the hell? And then about a couple moments later, I just start crying, and I'm like, I don't have any emotion behind these tears. So a mentor at that time, I called him like, yo, man, I don't know what's going on, but out of nowhere, I just start crying, but I don't have a reason. He asked me a series of questions. He's like, okay, don't worry. You have an anxiety attack. And I'm like, huh? He's like, you just been working too much. So go into your office, tell your office manager that you're leaving for the day. You go, leave, do whatever you need to or want to relax, but don't come back to the office until you feel like you can. So I left. I went, told her, I left. I was married at the time. I don't even think I called my wife. I went to the store, bought a fishing pole, and just went to a lake. I don't fish, but I just sat there and just cast the line. After that day, I just knew that with all that we have to deal with, it's always going to be something. So there's always a cutoff time and a cutoff moment. Because if I let the task get the best of me, then the tasks are going to outlast me. And that doesn't make sense. So at that point, I created more of a clear delineation between work, life, and real life to where now I don't talk about work outside of work unless it's very, very minimal. So like now I have a girlfriend now and she initially was frustrated. And I was like, my reason for not talking about work, reasons for not talking about work outside of work is one, work has the majority of your day. So the people that you care about, they don't deserve, I don't feel like, I feel like the people that I'm working for deserve more out of me than hearing me talk about work. So they might say, "How's your day?" I'm like, "Good. That's great." Yeah. But I don't have conversation outside of work because my real life deserves more attention and care. And I have to build those relationships that are my foundation and sustain me while I'm at work. So I cut it off. Number two is I learned along the way is that I don't like talking about my work with people that aren't entrepreneurs because they don't get it. And they'll say stuff like, well, how's it on? I started, starting out, it's like I would just sort of rattle off some of the issues that I was dealing with. And it's like they would try to be helpful to fix it. You can't fix it because you don't know what I'm dealing with. You don't know the pressure that comes with, I remember I was the CEO of a nonprofit and I told the board, hey, if you all don't match me in fundraising in 18 months, this organization is going to go belly up. And I can't continue to work at the pace that I'm going because I'll lose myself in this. And if that happens, you all are going to have to tell my staff that they don't have a job. I refuse to do it because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Um, but to even contemplate having to tell people that they don't have a job, and being in technology now, the things that keep me up at night are, we've received $500,000 of investment. I want to make sure that they get a return on that investment. I have business partners and employees that are trusting me to lead them to the promised land. Most of my concerns deal with other people and their families rather than me and my family. Oftentimes, as an entrepreneur, I make less than everybody else that's working for me. So when people, friends, whatever, that aren't in this lifestyle want to be helpful, you don't know the amount of stress or you don't have the emotional capacity to understand what I'm dealing with. And it's funny because I thought about you this week because I had another friend that was frustrated she's a doctor, but she homes her practice in her building. And her doctor friend works in a practice. And she's like, well, why don't you just do this? And why don't you just do that? And she's like, I'm trying to tell this girl, she doesn't understand that I'm the owner. This is my practice. So I said to her, I was like, well, that's why I don't talk to people that don't own businesses about my work anymore. And I sort of explained to her the same thing. And she was like, that makes so much sense. And I say to everybody, it's to protect the relationships outside of your work because they don't know that they're not really being helpful. And when you get frustrated, all they're looking at is you're not being grateful of the great advice that I'm giving you. No, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, that brings me to something I mentioned to you before we got started, but the number one on this list of what really gets entrepreneurs, you know, I don't know what the word to say here. Let's see here, like why they're vulnerable, I guess, vulnerable to mental health challenges. The number one is stress. And I told you before we started, I have stressed myself out so much right now. And it's not just work, but because it encompasses everything. But I have my second bout now with shingles. I got shingles a few years ago when I opened a hotel in downtown Nashville. Um, and it was the most painful thing. I went to work every day, picked up
Mhm.
children, did everything, took my medicine, actually had a bad reaction to it. I'm getting worse.
Yeah.
And standing at my neighbor's house the other day, and I was like, whoa, what is it? That really hurts. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just a bug bite. And then a day later, I was like, wow, this is starting the same way it did last time. And
Oh,
realized with not only starting a new business, but COVID-19,
hmm
two kids at home that are in virtual school,
hmm
um, other stresses of money. I mean, technically, some of us, as we're starting new businesses, came out of something where money is definitely a huge challenge. I'm bootstrapping, so I don't have $1 million of investors behind me, but I've got
right.
my own family to worry about. So, stress. What are some things that you do or have been taught besides, not talking about it with people outside the business, but
Mhm.
what reduces your stress um, to a place where you're not getting overwhelmed to that point again?
Well, I guess I'll share with you the story that I think that got us on here. But first and foremost is that I exercise. Like I grew up a fat kid, so I initially exercised to like lose the weight to be healthy. But then after I achieved a certain goal, I realized that it was my therapy in the mornings. So I structure my mornings to be sanctuary time. I don't like taking meetings before 10 o'clock a.m. just because I need me time. And I call it that my sanctuary time. Uh, in 2017, we were discovered by a group out of Silicon Valley. Long story short, after some negotiations, we signed a $10 million license deal. And everything, to our knowledge, was going well. Right when we were supposed to get a check cut, they filed bankruptcy and quit all communication. Come to find out, after talking to them, somebody that was a part of our team tried to go behind my back and cut a side deal, and they took that action to protect themselves and some other stuff. But at that point, I'd been living on credit cards for 6 months because I knew I was a millionaire. And yeah, when that went belly up, I, as an adult, had never been really in a position where I'm by myself and didn't have a way to take care of myself. Um, my bank paid my bills for 3 months because of my relationship with them. And afterward, that I just, it was February 1st, 2018, that I was at the gym. And again, just tears started falling out of my face. And I said, oh shit, today's the day. So I put the weights up, drove home, didn't turn on a light, didn't turn on a radio or a TV. That's not normal for me. And took a shower in the dark, trying to get used to it because that's the day that I plan to take my own life. So I got cleaned up, got into bed, started writing letters to my friends and family, and it came to my baby brother. And I was like, I can't do this because I was just bawling. And the thought of me giving up to where it would impact him, just, I couldn't do it. So I called a counselor later that day. And counseling, it helped. The funny thing is that many entrepreneurs, I don't know about most, but I'm a go-to person in my circles. So I've always been seen as a person that'll help other people through situations. And what I learned is that love is a two-way street, and it's selfish to not let other people help you. And I didn't know that. And I had to learn that lesson. It was hard because I had to let people help me financially, emotionally, um, and I had to drive Uber and Lyft for like a year just to sustain the company to where I could bring things back and raise more money. Um, so counseling started it, and then I was introduced to, um, I grew up in the church, but this journey sort of distanced me from that because to me, spirituality is a relationship. Religion is a little limiting, and that's a different conversation. But I still believe in the Bible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But through that, I found meditation. So I try to meditate at least 15 minutes every morning. And that's like drugs. I can't explain it. But just sit there. It's like sometimes I just go into a trance. It's weird as all get out. I don't know what it's about, but it's science behind it. Dan, can't remember guy's name, but he's on Good Morning America on the weekends. But he wrote Dan Harris. He has a book, and the medical benefits of um, meditation are just incomparable. So meditation, exercise, reading, and then just doing what I like to do. You got to have hobbies. So I write. I love cigars. I cycle. That's my passion. I cook. It relaxes me. I like fine beverages. So those are some of the things, but it's critical to stay human because you have so many things on your shoulder that you gotta stay human because as entrepreneurs, you have to be a superhero. So it's a time for the cape, but it's also a time to be Clark Kent.
Yeah, and the uncertainty. I think, one of the first conversations we had, and I was very, very new at this, and like I said, your conversations have been invaluable. What you've brought to me have been amazing. You understanding where I'm at. Especially we're both working kind of in this hospitality
Yeah.
industry right now during this crazy time. And the uncertainty as I begin this journey during an uncertain time, we all keep saying, is probably added pressure for myself. But
Mhm.
how have you seen what it could be as an entrepreneur before the pandemic and everything? And how has it affected you now?
COVID actually helped us, and it's weird because I was depressed maybe that first month, just sitting on the couch because there was nothing to do. But we were blessed that our developers just got busy innovating. So they created technology to include into the application. So, Stroll is the personalized local city guide. It's a location based marketing tool for businesses, but it's a personalized city guide for end users to where you're discovered by your interests instead of having to search. So, you know, we had really cool features of personalization inside the app, but they created more critical or more valuable components for like now you can order food, like scan a QR code, menu comes up, and you can order within the app and pay for your meal through the app. So that accommodates COVID because there's social distancing.
Mhm.
The same thing with a scheduling implementation, customized reward program for businesses. So our developers created lightweight COVID killers. You know what I'm saying? To degrees, different phases. We can still be very useful. And then as businesses come out of this, they're going to be scrambling to try to get people in. That's why you use Stroll as a business, is that you can communicate with your target demographic in real time in real geographical areas. So after the depression set in, it's that's the other thing, is that we have to realize that it's normal. You're taking on a behemoth. You're taking on something that's greater than you, and you get this great momentum to get things, off the ground, and then you start hitting these bumps in the road, or these valleys, these tranches, these cliffs, these grand canyons, to where you don't feel like you can make it. But it's something inside you, and as an entrepreneur, you just got to dig deeper. And then if you back away from it and trust the process, it comes to you. And I can't explain that other than, I also listen a lot to laws of attraction stuff. And it makes so much sense because everything that we see, the chair that you sit on, the computer that you use, Zoom, everything was a thought. So nothing here in physical capacity came about without a thought of somebody that, sought to put it into place. We're no different. But there's a book called uh Shoe Dog, and it's the story of Nike, Phil Knight. OMG. And it was another successful entrepreneur who exited that told me about the book. And it's so impactful. It took him 20 years to get Nike to be recognized. And I listen to books. So I'm listening to the book, and it's like every year it's like, nope, Nike's not gonna make it. Nope, we're about to shut down. Their hurdles were stupid. Oh my gosh. So to hear the humanization of an entrepreneur, other than these, what we call overnight success stories where they're glorified, to really know about Steve Jobs' journey, it we're those people, you know? And the really successful entrepreneurs I'm learning are the ones that don't quit.
Absolutely. But that still goes back to, like, everyone talks about everyone's an overnight success. There's no overnight successes. Everyone has put the years in, even, um, you know,
ASOS,
yeah,
you
maybe
can't name
young
anybody.
Yeah, maybe young, entertainers, but you look at some of these entertainers who have, gone out on the road and opened for others and made their own music for 10 years before they hit it. And now they're an overnight success. No, we've all put in the work. I mean, our journeys have not just come overnight. We kind of put in a lot of, maybe this might be a new idea, but we have the thought, we have the experience behind us that is going to make us successful, hopefully. It brings me kind of to that other feeling that COVID has brought to people, is the feeling of isolation, which is yet another. It's like the third top thing that entrepreneurs go through, is that self isolation, and this has kind of made it even tougher. I mean, honestly, I would rather be isolated alone sometimes. I love my children to death, but it's like I told you the other day, like, can you do this on a Sunday? Because that's, when I could, and it's
Yeah,
very, very
yeah,
isolating that
yeah.
even before, as an entrepreneur, you're kind of, it's a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of going in, but you're very much by yourself in your thoughts, and
Mm.
how this has really perpetuated people to kind of really dig deep. But I also feel like if I did not have this time and I was always going out and doing things, I would have never had this idea and I wouldn't be at the place I am now. I'm kind of fast tracking,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, my business. And I know that, you've seen both sides of it. Have you felt a little more isolation during this time?
Not this time. When I first started as a solo entrepreneur, it was tough, because I worked out of my home. I'm talking about 2007. And, you know, um, in that then marriage, we had date night on Tuesdays. And I remember her saying, well, let's just stay at home and watch a movie. No, we will not. No. I raised my voice. Like, I was like, no. It's like, I'm not staying here another minute. I've been here for 3 days. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not going to be a prisoner to my own house. I pay the bills, so it's like,
Oh, I definitely feel you. I feel like I've been a prisoner at home. I love working from home. I've always been that person that's a lot better with my own scheduling and kind of being in charge of myself. But I felt like I feel definitely like a prisoner right now. What brought on probably my shingles is trying to decide if my kids are going to go back to school after fall break or they're
yeah,
staying home. And it's just like that thin anxiety of like, when is this going to end? When can I go out again? And if my husband has a day off, I'm like, I'll go to the grocery store. I got it. Just let me out for five
yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
I can definitely feel like how the isolation is part of those, risks in a sense for entrepreneurs or people, starting something new.
But it's one of those things to where it's a necessary evil. It's like, a lot of life parables, illustrations come to me at the gym. And when I'm cycling, I think that's why I like it, because growing up as a fat kid and I could not do certain things, when I trained for a half marathon or 100-mile bike ride or just wanting to stack on more muscle, it's like you have to exercise. And then when you reach the goal, you look back and say, okay, the way to eat an elephant really is one bite at a time. And the self isolation is one of those things that you have to get comfortable with. And it was weird because I used to be a guy that always consulted somebody else about something that I thought and something I wanted to do. And over time, you get comfortable with being like, I'm dead ass. Like, I'm a superhero. I, and it took me years to own it, because I just wanted to work a corporate job, being a great salesperson and making a lot of money and being left alone. But I'm a solutions based person.
Hmm.
And in corporate America, they don't want you to solve problems, because it's sort of like healthcare in America. We treat illnesses, we treat symptoms. We don't treat for wellness. And I'm a wellness type person when it comes to, when I was in the nonprofit, I was like, hey, I'm trying to like close the business by addressing the mission so that kids are being addressed in such a way that they don't need our services. And people look at me like, what about your job security? I'll get another job. I don't
Hmm.
care. I'm more comfortable with myself, but it's taken so many years to where when I have an idea, to me, that's the universe saying, hey, this is what's next. And then things start coming into line. And once you start seeing the momentum, I think that's what's helped me to stop the freakouts. Because right now I have to raise another $250,000, $500,000 just to make it. I have to. And I used to get so stressed. And when one thing I realized as entrepreneurs is that when you stress, you kill momentum and you kill productivity of your team. So I've always told my teams like, hey man, I'm gonna take care of you, but you got to take care of me. So if I wig out, all this shit comes to ruin because I'm the gatekeeper. So I've also, with our team expanding, I found that things were bottlenecking with me. And I hate when people hold things hostage, particularly developers, because I'm not a coder, but this is my second tech startup. Um, so I had to actively trust other members of the team with critical assets to get done and assign them so that I wouldn't be that micromanager I hate micromanaging. I hate being micromanaged, but I hate micromanaging more because that means that I'm paying somebody else to do a job that I'm helping them to do. And I've actually fired people for me having to micromanage them. Sorry, I got off base, but it's like you just have to exercise trust in yourself, and then you have to exercise trust in your team because I only hire leaders. I only partner with leaders because I can't do it all, and I'm only bringing you on because you're great at something that I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just watching an interview with the founder of Netflix, and he was talking about sometimes he's known as cutthroat, but he's like, I just want the best of the best. Why would I have someone on my team that is not as great as the ideas I came up with? And if you
Right.
think that's cutthroat, he's like, he gives them the world. He gives them very good pay. He gives them no, unlimited vacation.
I do the same.
And if you're going to be part of my team, I want you to be the best of the best and put in for me as well. But I want to thank you so much. And one of the great things that is actually coming up is an amazing partnership between Stroll and Versator. We've been
Absolutely.
working kind of behind the scenes here on some really innovative stuff in development, and also Vibe Guide, which is going to
Yeah.
come out with like a
By the end of the month.
yeah, and it's so cool. And maybe we'll try to do this again, maybe on a different topic. But I am really excited about what we have for the future. And JM, I appreciate your time so much. And I really look forward to working with you in the future. So I'm going to pop up whatever socials, how people can, reach you guys. It's
Dot-
strollnow.com,
Yep.
and the app also will be on there. But thank you so much for your time today, and everyone tune in. I think right now I've decided right here we're going to do every other Thursday, so I'm not going to be so stressed out on getting a vlog out every week. So tune in, not next Thursday, but the week after that, for your next episode of VersaVlog.